if you'll go back in history, you remember that the church was a little fledgling offshoot of the synagogue, of the Jewish religion. And it was thought sort of in a backwoods kind of place, didn't do anything for 10 years, stayed primarily in the Jerusalem area for over 10 years. What happened to that church that was persecuted and began to reach out into the Roman world? What took place that by 312 AD, the church was declared by the Emperor Constantine to be the official religion of all the empire? What took place? Were there crusades? Was there a lot of evangelism? What happened? I'll tell you what happened. 2 plagues. The first plague that took place was in 165 AD. Marcus Aurelius was the Caesar there, and we know he himself even died in the plague. And in this first plague, 1/3 plus of the Roman Empire died. They could not stop it. 1/3 died. About 80 plus, almost 100 years later, in 265, they had another plague. And this plague swept over the Roman world. Another 1/2 to 1/3 of everybody who lived in the Roman world died. For example, they said there were days in which over 5,000 people a day were carried out dead in the city of Rome alone. Alexandria in Egypt, they lost 1/2 of their population. Now, what was going on? There was a famous doctor in Rome, Galen, famous medical, and you read in medical journals today about what Galen did. But when that first plague came, guess what he did? He ran. He went to an estate. What did all the pagan priests do and all the synagogues that were there that were pagan? They left town. They ran. They went into hiding. They went into exclusion. And we see the pagans who could, they ran. All the leaders ran. All the phony priests ran, and all the idolaters ran. And the Christians remained in the first plague and the second plague. And what did they do? They nursed one another, and they nursed the pagans who were left behind, the nobodies in the kingdom. And guess what? In the plague, if they are nursed, they're given soup and prayer. That's what they offered, soup and prayer, water and bread. 2/3 of those lived. They survived. So therefore, when the first plague was over, all the pagan worshipers, all the pagan temples were disenfranchised. The priests came back and they had no ground upon which to stand, because now it was the Christians who said, I am my brother's keeper. The pagans knew nothing of that. I'll lay down my life for a friend. The pagans knew nothing of that. And those Christians who died, they had hope and confidence in the resurrection of Christ, so there's a whole new understanding of death. And you see, people begin to see these Christians are legitimate. This God they worship is the true and living God. This Jesus who conquered the grave, I want him in my life. So there was an explosive growth of Christianity all over the Roman Empire, until that was when Constantine said, we are a Christian people. Opportunity. The answer to COVID-19 is the church.